guys, it's Monica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to do a review slash wrap up of the books I read in July of this year. I am a huge reader and I am excited to share these books with you. I typically average reading between 5 or 6 books a month, and in July I read 6 books. 5 of those were actual physical books and there was 1 audiobook. So let's take a look. First up is This Must Be the Place by Maggie O'Farrell. I really enjoyed this book. It is one that had been on my TBR list for a long time. My husband gave it to me for either our anniversary or Mother's Day. I can't remember which holiday because they're really close together. I would describe this book as a complicated family drama. I'm going to read just one sentence from the inside flap. This Must Be the Place is a novel about family, identity, and true love. An intimately drawn portrait of a marriage, both the forces that hold it together and the pressures that drive it apart. And it was just that. I use book darts to mark passages or quotes that I really like when I'm reading, and I'm going to share one of those from this book. It is talking about the main character in the story, Daniel, his son, and an observation that he had when he was young that I just really liked. His son's name is Niall. Where will I start? Anyway, I'll just start with this. I'll just go with this one sentence. He decided there and then that his life needed footnotes and that he, Niall, should be the one to provide them. I just love that idea. And then through the next, this one chapter, when it's talking about Niall, it had little footnotes in different places, and it was just really cute. I like that. But I did like the story. It was just a fun read. The next book that I read was a small but very impactful one. It is I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austen Channing Brown. This book is a memoir by Austen Channing Brown about her life growing up as a black woman in a world that is made for whiteness. She talks about the struggles that she had growing up and into young adulthood, and how she really came to embrace blackness and black dignity, and I just really loved reading her personal stories and insights. I'm going to read just the first thing that I had marked that I opened up right here as I was talking. It says, white supremacy is a tradition that must be named and a religion that must be renounced. When this work has not been done, those who live in whiteness become oppressive, whether intentional or not. You see me, I'm a white girl. I've lived my life in whiteness, and a lot of this is really eye-opening, and I am so glad that I read it. I'm glad that she wrote it, and I'm glad that it is getting a lot of attention right now. This was one of Reese Witherspoon's picks for her book club last month. I had purchased it before then, but really am happy that I read this book. So that is I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go ahead and end with one more quote from this book, because there was a lot of good stuff in here. It says, I need a love that is troubled by injustice. A love that is provoked to anger when black folks, including our children, lie dead in the streets. A love that can no longer be concerned with tone, because it is concerned with life. A love that has no tolerance for hate, no excuses for racist decisions, no contentment in the status quo. I need a love that is fierce in its resilience and sacrifice. I need a love that chooses justice. Isn't that what we all need? The next book is Becoming Mrs. Lewis, and this is by Patti Callahan. Oh, you guys, this is a book that I wanted to love so much. This had been on my TBR list since it came out, like 2 years ago maybe, at least 1 year ago. I'm thinking 2. I'm trying to look at the copyright date, 2018, because I just thought it would be really neat to read the love story between C.S. Lewis and his wife. I didn't know a whole lot about their story going into this book, and I didn't love it. I just didn't like her. His wife's name was Joy Davidson. I did not like her as a person, like, at all. But by the end of the book, I did have some compassion for her, so I give the author credit for that. It took me much longer than usual to get through this book, because I just had a hard time of it not living up to expectations of what I wanted it to be, I think. But I am going to read just a couple of passages that I marked here. The first one says this. We gathered around that table, my 3 boys, each holding a mug of hot chocolate and I a cup of tea. I wished for whipped cream to top it off for them. Why did the everydayness of my life sometimes feel constricting when the everydayness was everything? I love the concept of everydayness in life being everything, but sometimes we're really unhappy with that, and she was. One more thing. Says, there are 3 images in my mind I must continually forsake and replace by better ones. The false image of God, the false image of my neighbors, and the false image of myself. And then his signature, C.S. Lewis. This is what C.S. Lewis signed on the inside of a book that he had gifted her. That is Becoming Mrs. Lewis, and it was not a favorite. I ended up, I think, giving it a 3-star rating on Goodreads because I did finish it, and some of my feelings changed by the end of the book, but it will not go down as a favorite, or the favorite that I wanted it to be. The next book is What You Wish For by Katherine Center, and I really needed something that I knew I would like as the next book after Becoming Mrs. Lewis, and this was it. I've read 2 other books by Katherine Center, and I have loved everything I've read by her. She writes great, strong, female protagonist that I have loved in every book, and this one was not. This one was the same. I loved the female protagonist in this book, and it is exactly what I needed after reading the last book. I enjoyed it so much, and it's a lighter read, but it was a fun read as well. And I have just a couple passages marked here that I will share with you. It says, this is a quotation, so someone is saying this to someone else in the story. Dude, I'm not happy because it comes easily to me. I bite and scratch and claw my way toward happiness every day. I love that. fighting for happiness. And sometimes we see people and we think that happiness and cheerfulness and joy come so easily for them, when in fact they're just fighting for it every single day. And then this one other paragraph, it says, later she might go home and miss Max even more. Reminded of all she'd lost. She's talking about a character whose husband had passed away, an older character. But I suspected that Babette knew better than to let a little pain hold her back. She knew that joy and sorrow walked side by side. She knew that being alive meant risking one for the other. And she also knew, as I was starting to understand in a whole new way, that it was always better to dance than to refuse. I love the two things in that passage, that the concept of joy and sorrow walking side by side, but also knowing that it's always better to dance than to refuse. The fifth book that I read that I'll be sharing is The Beauty in Breaking by Michele Harper. This is another memoir. When I pulled these books together, I was kind of surprised to see that I read two memoirs last month. Michele Harper is an African-American woman who works as an emergency room physician, or has worked as an emergency room physician for more than a decade at different places, and she I guess currently works, or the last job at least that she spoke of in the book, is working in the emergency department at the Veterans Affairs Hospital in Philadelphia. And so she's just sharing her experiences in this book, and it was a fun read if you like kind of taking a peek inside the medical world of emergency medicine, and what doctors experience there, and so I really enjoyed getting that look. I'm going to just read one little thing here. It says, sure, it's always faster in the moment to silence the body's ailments pharmacologically, to write a script in lieu of having a conversation, when your main goal is to get through each patient encounter as quickly as possible. These approaches will do. But if the goal is patient autonomy, to support patients in achieving long-term self-generated health, it's better to pay careful and thoughtful attention to the roots of what makes us healthy. The last book I read is Along Petal of the Sea, and I did not write down the author's name. I don't have this one physically with me because this was a book that I listened to on audio through Libro FM. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick while I'm talking. Okay. This book is by Isabel Allende, and it is narrated by Amanda Hopkinson. I liked this book. This is a book that I think I probably would have enjoyed better reading it in physical form than through audio, because it took me a long time to get into it, and then there were a lot of distractions. I have not been listening as much as I'm used to because I haven't been going anywhere, and that's when I did a lot of my listening to audiobooks. So I enjoyed it, but it's one that I would like to possibly revisit again in print. And this is a book that centers around the Spanish Civil War. It's a historical novel, and it follows one young man and his family through that Civil War, their involvement in it, and then them becoming refugees after the war. I really loved it. I just wish I would have read it in a different form. So that's it. That is the 6 books that I read in July 2020. If you like these book reviews, please let me know in the comments, and I will leave links below as well for you to check out each of the books I mentioned if you're interested in checking those out. And make sure you subscribe. Click the bell if you want to know when new videos are posted, and I will see you later.